Society with your host, David Malmo-Levine.
I am a candidate for governor in the May 91 Democratic primary in the state of Kentucky, and my main issue is choice. My main issue and fear is that the whole bundle of rights of individual free choice held by the individuals in this country and citizens in this country, the kinds of freedoms that our forefathers fought and died for since 1776, that our subsequent generations have gone to war for, are now under assault by the present administration and the past administration in its two-term stay in office. These people, Ronald Reagan and George Bush, are not conservatives. These people are aliens. These people have nothing to do with conservatism. When I was growing up, I'm a conservative candidate. I want to license and regulate marijuana as a cash crop and let our farmers make this money instead of make these international criminal syndicates in South America and Mexico rich. And the current administration calls itself conservative, but when I was growing up, conservative meant you kept the government in a little box. You didn't let it out. The government stayed in a little box, because when you let government out of that box, it started exponentiating and feeding upon itself, becoming self-serving and always against the interest of the people. Inexorably, it will grow to occupy the space currently occupied by our civil liberties, and it has been doing so for the last 40 years. Ronald Reagan snookered the public and said that he was going to take government off the backs of business. He did that, but he put government directly on the backs of the people. He took all that built-up government, he gutted the social programs, and took all that money and fed his cronies with it, and then brought in the military and the police force to ride herd on the population. That's exactly what's happened. I'm going to reverse that effect. When I get to be governor of the state of Kentucky, I'm going to put that government back in the box. I'm going to tell the government we don't have the right to interfere in a lot of different aspects of individuals' lives in this state. Marijuana is a benchmark question for many reasons. Number one, a society that can accommodate alcohol and tobacco has absolutely no argument with marijuana, which is far less harmful than either of those two. The state has no right to tell the individual he cannot alter his consciousness. If he can do that respectably and in a non-violent or threatening manner, then he should be able to do that. Not with addictive drugs. Not with addictive drugs. I am not talking about legalizing drugs. I'm talking about licensing and regulating marijuana as a cash crop in the state of Kentucky. I can kick crack and cocaine and heroin out of the state of Kentucky. I can solve that problem. My granddaddy never grew crack or cocaine or heroin, but he used to grow the hell out of hemp. And when he did, we used to make a pretty penny on it. I'll kick crack and cocaine and heroin out, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tax and regulate the marijuana smoker and remove them as a buffer zone from around the hard drug market. You know, as a marijuana smoker, I resent being forced to run involuntary interference with the hard drug market. I don't belong in that same category. I will not be placed in that same category. And I sure as hell, I'm not going to be going through my life as an adult in this society looking over my shoulder, wondering when the government is going to pounce out and haul me off and hold me in a cage for ransom because of my association with the green plant my granddaddy used to grow. You know, if we're going to fight about this, we're going to fight about it in front of the courthouse with a bullhorn at 12 noon in the sunshine with the public watching. And if we're going to fight about it, we're going to fight about it politically and through the system. And we're just going to take over the system and remove this kind of asinine fascist law and this kind of asinine fascist mentality from existence in this society.
Hello, my name is Mark Emery. I'm the publisher of Cannabis Culture Magazine. I'm the proprietor of Pot Television. And I urge you, if you want to grow some fine marijuana, to check out emeryseeds.com or the Emery Seeds catalog in Cannabis Culture Magazine and grow yourself some fine marijuana.
Everybody must get stoned. Everybody must get stoned. We're rolling up here on High Society. I'm sitting with Gatewood Galbraith. Is that how to pronounce your name?
That's it, David.
Gatewood Galbraith. He's all the way from Kentucky, and he is a rabble-rouser and pot aficionado from way back. Been causing trouble and stirring up the bird shit and getting people interested in cannabis re-legalization since how long?
In all my interviews, I've never had a nicer introduction.
Oh, thanks.
I've been doing it for about 30 years.
Wow.
I was in 1971. I was 24 years old and enough man, and it was obvious that I was headed to prison or an early demise. So I figured that what I better do is go to college and become an attorney and become governor of Kentucky and try to change the marijuana laws, because I thought that at that time, the marijuana laws were the most vivid illustration of where the government was overstepping its bounds in policing private behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that we could make a real societal major change just by changing that one law. It would incorporate a lot of other changes that needed to take place in the relationship between government and the people.
Yeah, I see that too.
So over the last 30 years, I did go to college. I became an attorney. I run for governor of the state of Kentucky 3 times in 91, 95, and 99. And in 1999, on a third-party ticket, the Reform Party, I got 15.3% of the votes in Kentucky.
Wow.
Which, next to Jesse Ventura, was the best third-party effort for governor in America since 1970. So we did it by marijuana. It was my leading issue. I also hooked up the folks who smoke marijuana with the other folks who were seeking more freedom under our form of government. And that included the gun owners and the gay rights folks and those people who seek to take the government off the backs of the people.
Well, first, 2 questions come up. 1, what do you think of Jesse Ventura? And 2, how do you get the gun rights advocates and the gay rights advocates to hang out with each other and cooperate?
That's an interesting question, and it's really phenomenal because that's how we were able to achieve the returns that we did. First of all, Jesse Ventura has wasted so much political capital that I'm just severely disappointed.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, his victory gave hope and gave impetus to a tremendous number of people who were outside the loop, who wanted to work within the system to gain power within that loop and make these necessary changes. And he led the way, but then he turned his back on that.
So you feel he betrayed by Jesse Ventura?
Well, I don't feel betrayed, and it may just be the limits of his own wherewithal and his own intellectual capacity. You know, it may be asking too much of anyone to incorporate all the things that he obviously is with a keen sense of politics that would allow him to make the real changes he needed to make. But the fact is that he's pretty much helped destroy the third-party Reform Party effort in America. And I think he's just wasted a lot of political capital with some publicity charades that should have gone to more serious change.
Do you think they might have went up to him and said, "Look, we're going to Kennedy you if you try to mess with marijuana," or something?
No, I don't think so, because we've got a governor in the United States, Governor Gary Johnson, out of New Mexico, who's leading the change. And
he's still breathing.
He's still breathing, triathlete.
Yeah.
But in response to your other question, which I've forgotten at this time.
Oh, it's that one about how do you get the gun guys and the gay guys in the same room cooperating?
Here's what I did. I've always been very aggressive. I'm a nationalist. I'm America first. Not America only, I'm America first.
Yeah.
I think before we become policemen to the rest of the world, before we try to remove human rights as a factor in awarding trade status, we ought to get our own country in order. Mm-hmm. I think we ought to eliminate our own poverty and educate our own children before we try to play policemen to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. So I'm a conservative in the true conservative sense. Now, people who know Mitch McConnell or Newt Gingrich, those people were not conservatives. Those people were aliens. Barry Goldwater was a conservative, and Barry would have taken Newt Gingrich and Mitch McConnell by the ear and let them out behind the woodpile and kick their butts for trying to pass off this fascist prison building imprisonment of people doing victimless crimes as a conservative law and order philosophy. It's not. It's big government. And a true conservative understands that the government ought to stay off of everybody's backs, the gays, the marijuana smokers, and those folks trying to exercise the Bill of Rights.